Welcome to the Good Karma Sportfishing Podcast. I'm your host, Captain Ryan Van Fleet. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. First, if any of you plan on fishing with me this fall or around the holidays, around like Thanksgiving and December, I highly recommend that you make your reservations as soon as possible. My Thanksgiving week is already full, and if you're planning on fishing with me around Christmas, you need to make those reservations as soon as possible. So I am already starting to fill up for December. My September and October are very busy, which is awesome. So very much looking forward to seeing my regular clients this fall and meeting the new clients that are on the books for this fall. So I have a few new clients on the books, so it's always cool to meet new people and take them fishing. So yeah. So today's podcast, I want to talk about consistency. I can't talk enough about consistency because that is what a good fisherman. That's what it is. It's consistency. Not just consistency when it's good, okay? I'm talking about consistency every month, okay? And it's such a challenge sometimes to go out there and put fish together when they're not biting. And, honestly, and that's what a good angler does. And that's, man, when I have one of the guys in my rigging group and they come through on a tough day, I know those guys are putting together the work, okay? I know they are. So, and that's for me, then I'm doing my job as far as a educator to say, hey, you're doing great. So I give lots of tidbits of information in the podcast. I give lots of really good tidbits of information in my rigging group. Now, if you're interested in becoming part of the rigging group, it's a monthly group, okay? And you have to commit to the long term. And before I can let you in the group, I have to interview people. So it's just how it goes. I just want to make sure you're the right fit for the group and as far as how I teach. Now, over the past 3 years, in each one of those podcasts, I've given you guys lots of tidbits of information, okay? Now, I know for a fact a lot of people have already forgotten what I've shared. And over the past 3 years, I've shared a lot of really good information. But I know for a fact, actually, that a lot of people have very short-term memories, and they tend to forget all those little tidbits of information that'll help them. So what I suggest is to use the podcast as a resource to go back and, you might pick up on something. So go back. I can't tell you how many, like my library that I have. I'll go back into my library of books and notes, and I'll go back years looking for something that I may have missed. So I'll go through maps. I still go through maps to this day. I was actually going through a map here earlier this morning. So looking for something that I forgot about, and I found it. So I'm like a hoarder when it comes to pieces of paper and notes. Sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll draw things like an idea or something for a weight design or a lure design or a color that comes to me that I might have seen like 6 years ago. Then all of a sudden I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll see it in my brain, and then I'll wake up and I'll write it down. And I'm just, like I said, I'm looking to get better every day. And I'm really about studying the fish and understanding the behavior of fish, because that's what makes you a really good angler. And I truly believe that the ones that actually fish all the time, even when it's tough, learn the most, okay? Because they understand fish behavior. They know what's going on with that fish. They understand how the fish behaves when the water's hot. They understand how the fish behaves and what bait to feed them when the water's cold. They understand what's happening. They just understand migration movements. They know where to be. So that's what consistency is understanding behavior of fish, okay? The guys that catch consistently understand the behavior of the fish that they're targeting, okay? They know how the fish reacts in certain situations. They know when to be there. They know the migration patterns. They spent years studying the fish, not just when it's good, okay? They fish when it's shitty too. So they make it a point to do that because that's the challenge, okay? So what it comes down to, guys, is to be consistent with the fish that you wish to target. You really need to understand that fish's behavior in all situations, okay? Okay, you really got to know that species you're going after. You really got to spend some time with it and understand it and understand how that species reacts when it's under pressure. So there's such intense fishing pressure out there on certain areas, and there's a lot of smart fishing pressure, more smart fishing pressure now than there's ever been, because guys are doing their homework. Okay, you're not the only one that's doing their homework. There's a lot of people out there doing the homework. That's the power of social media. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. Now, with that being said, you also have to remember is that throughout this podcast, I've given you guys a bunch of tidbits of information that a lot of people don't have, okay? That if you apply one of those small pieces of information, you may not think it's so important, but that little piece of information can mean the difference between you catching a fish on a wreck and the other guy not catching one, okay? So that's what you have to keep in mind, okay? So it's like this. Let's say, for example, last weekend I seen it. So I'm out there fishing a wreck, and there was hardly anybody out on the water. And I understand how this certain wreck fishes when other boats come up there. That's how much I know the wreck. And I know how the fish react. I know when they're going to shut off. So, and I know that on 90% of the spots that I fish, how fish are going to react. And how they're going to react on certain winds, how they're going to react with another boat getting into the drift. So August is tough, okay? It's hot. The fish are done spawning. They're lethargic. They're not eating very well. And you better bring your A game when it comes to bait this time of year. So just saying, I would, you got to bring your A game when you're going to go out there and target them. Now they're there, so they haven't gone anywhere. They just don't eat much. So, and then they spread out because they're not spawning. So just keep that in mind. So there's not as many of them. So what happens is, so I'm out there fishing a wreck and there's nobody there. And this, I've seen it, a lot. And then I had a commercial fishing boat come up and anchor on top of me. And I was like, I told the guys, I go, it's pretty much done. And, we caught a couple more. And then there was an outlier boat that was really wanting to get in on the drift, and he was kind of holding back. Well, he got in on the drift, and the fishing shut down. So I warned my guys. They shut down. So we took off, went to another area, pulled out of there, and left. And then I ran back to the area where they were all fishing, and they left, and then I caught them again. So it just goes to show you. So you put too many people on a spot, man, they shut off. So it's just how shit works out there. It just is, and especially in August. August can suck, man. It can suck as far as the fishing goes, honestly. So you just gotta make the best out of the time that you're out there. Make the best of the peak times, and try to find areas that you're not going to get fished on. Just how it rolls, man. I mean, the fish are shutting off when there's too many boats fishing on top of them. That's just what's happening out there. Bait. You can't. I know this for a fact with bait. And I learned this from in the commercial fishing world. Was I know that, I'll share this story again because this was a tidbit I shared a long time ago on another previous podcast. Is I know that the commercial fishing guys go at it a little bit as far as bait. One guy will have goggle eyes. He'll be out there and catching amberjacks, and the next guy will come out with some really feisty blue runners because those amberjacks like fast-moving bait. So the guy with the blue runner will shut off the school for the guy that is fishing the goggle eyes, and those fish will turn right onto those blue runners and shut right off on those goggle eyes. True. That's just how it rolls. I know certain spots, for example, I know that some spots fish better with pilchards than they do with pinfish, than they do with blue runners. I remember fishing with Brooke and Victor. We were doing a shoot for Land Shark Outdoors and Brooke Chris Outdoors. We went to another spot and we put down pilchards versus ballyhoo. And they would not touch the ballyhoo. They would not touch a live ballyhoo. They would not touch a chunk, but they would eat the shit out of the pilchards. Same size leaders, same lengths, all that other good stuff. They just wouldn't touch it. So certain areas fish differently, okay? So what I'm telling you guys is once you learn and start learning that fish species and going really deep on it as far as what they eat at certain times of year, when the fish form, when not to, and being able to tell when the bite's going to stop, being there at the peak times when you need to be there, figuring out those patterns. And that's what you call learning the fish, okay? Learning the fish. Once you start learning your fish that you really want to target, you're going to start catching more of them, okay? That goes with like wahoo fishing, knowing when to change a color based on certain times of year versus cloudy days versus light versus a light sunny day versus a not so light day, like clear days, and then fishing for them when it's dark. There's just so much that goes into it, and that's what makes it so much fun. That's what makes it so much fun. Learning it. And like I said, it's when I'm going to touch on this one more time. And when it comes to, like, for example, lures, guys, learning about what type of lure to put in the water is like at certain times of year is an art. And a lot of guys have got to figure it out because they've been doing it for so long. That's why they're so good, and that's why they catch fish consistently, okay? So just knowing when to pull a blue and white and put like a pink and blue out, and knowing all that kind of stuff, and knowing how fast you got to be at certain times of year, knowing when to pull the plug because you can't get your boat to go that fast at the rate that they want to eat that day. That's just how it goes. Some days the fish are really keyed in on the high speed versus the other day you can go out there the next day and you'll crush them on live ballyhoo. It really just depends. And it depends on how hungry the damn fish are and how much boat pressure there is. So it's just things are changing. Just don't get lazy. I tell people, don't get lazy, okay? Really work because you're going to need to, and that's what it's going to take if you want to be good. That's all I got for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Follow me on Instagram if you want to know what the hell's going on with me and the Porgy Report. So, and I'll talk more about, I'll probably put out a fishing report next week. I don't have much to say because I'm really not doing too much fishing because of the weather down here. It's horrible. So you can follow me on Instagram, Good Karma Sportfishing _FL_keys. You can email me at goodkarmaryan@gmail.com if you want to book a charter with me this fall or have booking questions. Yeah, my rates are on my site, and you can also check out my rates and get more information by downloading the Good Karma Sportfishing app, and that's a free app. And you can get the Solar Lunar on there for free, and you can get some really good wind reporting on there for sites that are charging you. Now, you can download the Good Karma Sportfishing app through iTunes and the Google Play stores. That's all I got. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And remember, anytime you're fishing, it's all good.